What's the reality? First of all, this is a scary thing for many parents. College tuition has increased faster than any other expense. Since 1983, the cost has gone up by 722%. And also, college costs are much higher due to poor student planning. What does that mean, poor student planning? It means that many students, when they leave high school, really have no idea what it is that they want to do. Sometimes they go to college and haven't decided on their major yet. Sometimes they have decided on their major, but after they've been doing it for 2 years, they decide, you know what, I'm not really enjoying it. It's not for me. I think I'm going to pick something different, right? So what does that mean? If they change tracks in the middle, then out the door goes your dreams of your child graduating within 4 years. All right. The average college student these days takes 6 years or more to graduate. And that, again, is due to changing of majors, changing of colleges. They lose some of their changing of majors, changing of colleges. They lose the credits that they've earned. And of course, more semesters in school means more money out of your pocket. I'm going to backtrack a little and talk about the one that's up higher one. There are too few high school counselors to support the number of students needing guidance. The national guideline is to have 275 students per high school counselor. 275, think about that. That's the national guideline. In many cases, there are well over 400 students per counselor. If you're lucky, your child is in a school where the ratio is lower. But let's say even if it's 100, imagine that counselor really has the time to do only so much with your individual child. So that's really something that you have to keep in mind, that most of the homework that needs to be done by you as parents and your child as the student. And you really can't expect other people to do all that work for you. So proper student assessment, choosing the right major and the right college, it can make a huge financial difference for your family. I'm going to skip the next one, but you can read it on your own. But the last one is important. 60% of the FAFSA forms are either rejected or suspended due to some type of error. What does this mean? People who don't get any help when they're filling out these forms, if they make mistakes, if they're lucky, they can rectify these errors. But of course, what happens? Time passes, several weeks go by, and remember what I said earlier about the pool of money getting smaller and smaller. If you have a mistake in your FAFSA that needs to be fixed and it causes a delay, then that's going to be costly also for your family. I would recommend for that reason that you really get some help from experts to help you with all of these things, to make sure that you really get the maximum benefit that you can get. Available funds. Did you know there are over $180 billion available each year from federal government, states, colleges and university, private foundations, and organizations. Many families miss out on financial aid simply because they do not apply. It's the worst thing that you can do for yourself and for your child. By the way, you should know that this $180 billion that's quoted here is a low estimate. We've seen other sources that quote $250 billion or up. So what does this mean? Okay, financial aid comes really in two different kind of buckets. First of all, we have gift aid. This includes scholarships and grants. Grants come from the government, college and private resources. Scholarships and grants mean free money. You put it in your pocket while you pay the school with it. You don't have to pay it back. So obviously, that's the preferable kind of aid for you to get. Right? You don't have to worry about paying it back at a later time. Then we also have what's called self-help aid. And within the self-help aid category, we have student loans, which of course can be very helpful. They are usually low interest. You don't have to pay them back until after you graduate from college. So it kind of relieves the financial burden during the student's years of college. That's helpful. And then we also have what's called a work-study program. This means that your child will work on campus and earn money so that they can help pay for college. And, you know, they both have drawbacks, or they're both good and bad in their own way. Obviously, if your child has to work during college, then it can be a beneficial experience because your child has to learn how to be responsible, learn how to manage time. Your child learns how difficult it is to earn money, and you know, there are some good parts to that. Ultimately, however, if you really have a choice in the matter, gift aid would be the better way to go. Now, you don't really always have a choice in the matter, but that's what you would prefer in most cases. Then we also have two different categories of aid. One is merit-based. This comes from the institution, from foundations, scholarship organizations, and merit-based aid is based on student achievement. A student has to earn that and apply for it and qualify for it. Need-based aid is federal, state, and college, sourced by federal, state, and college, and is based on FAFSA and CSS scores and profile data. So needs-based is really the financial aid that we're talking about here in this presentation. You might hear sometimes from parents saying, oh yeah, my child got a full ride somewhere in this school. And you might think then to yourself, if your child applies to that school, well, how is it that my child was not offered this? So it's important when you talk to other people about how much financial aid their children are getting, you need to know whether it's merit-based or whether it's need-based. Is it strictly financial aid, or is it merit-based scholarships that they're getting? So it might taint the picture a little bit of what you're thinking you're hearing. So let's look at a few scenarios. Here's one about the case of the Jones family. All right, the Jones family, they have a child who has been accepted at Northwestern University and at Kent State University. Now, as a parent, you look at the cost of attending Northwestern, which is a little bit over $45,000 per year. You look at the cost of Kent State University, which is a little over $16,000 a year. So right away, you see, oh wow, one looks financially a lot more interesting than the other, or financially a lot more desirable than the other. By the way, Kent State is a wonderful institution. I got my master's there. But if you look financially, obviously Northwestern University is more costly on its price tag than Kent State University is. Now, you look at the next line, it says EFC. EFC is the expected family contribution, and that's based on your FAFSA score. So that is the same no matter where your child applies. In the case of the Jones family, their expected family contribution is almost $8,000, a little bit less than $8,000. That means they are expected to pay that money out of their own pocket. If you look at the cost of attending and the amount that the family can afford to pay or is expected to pay, you will see that for Northwestern University, the need is over $37,000. And for Kent State University, the need is just under $9,000. It seems like this that Kent State would be financially more viable for this particular family. However, there's some other numbers that you also need to look at. For example, Northwestern University has offered the child a package where it says, we are going to meet 100% of your financial need. And more important, out of that 100% that we're going to meet, 76% is going to be in the form of gift aid. Remember gift aid? You don't have to pay it back. It's the kind of aid that you would want in an ideal situation. The self-help aid for Northwestern University is 24%. Now look at Kent State University. Kent State University is offering this family to meet 55% of the need. All right, the need is just under $9,000. If Kent State is committing only to meet 55% of that, that means Kent State is only willing to pay them $4,784. If you see that the need is over $8,500, right? That means this family is short another $3,900. Kent State also says our gift aid is 33% of what we offer, and our self-help aid is 67% of what we offer. So let's look at what these numbers mean. The total expected family contribution in the case of Northwestern University with the Jones family is $7,878. The gift aid that Northwestern is offering this family is over $28,000, and the self-help aid, meaning either the student gets a work study or a loan that has to be paid back after a number of years, the self-help aid is $8,948. Now we look in the next column for Kent State University. The expected family contribution is the same, $7,874. However, there is an unmet need of $3,914, which means that the expected family contribution is not the same as the total family contribution, right? The total family contribution in this case is expected to be $11,792 per year. Then they offer gift aid in the amount of $1,770 and self-help aid in the amount of $3,014. So as a family, you really have to look at these numbers. I can't say for one family that for all families, one option is better than the other option, because again, every family is in a different situation. So some families, if this was pertaining to their particular child, they might choose Kent State University in spite of the numbers, or they might choose Northwestern University in spite of the numbers. The point is, if you only look at the price tag attached to the college, you're not getting a complete picture. So you need to also take a look at how much of your financial need is going to be met by the school, how much is offered in gift aid, and how much is offered in self-help aid. And if you know all of those numbers, you actually get a much more accurate picture of what the school actually has to offer you and what you have to expect to pay in the end. Important numbers for you to know.